Have you ever thought about starting a podcast editing service? That's the question we're exploring today. You see, podcasts are not just a passing trend. They're a form of media that's been growing in popularity at an astounding rate. From celebrities to entrepreneurs, from educators to entertainers, people from all walks of life are launching their own podcasts. Now, what does this mean for you? Well, it means there's a burgeoning market out there, a market that is in dire need of quality editing services. Podcasts, like any other form of media, require a certain level of finesse and polish to ensure they're not just good, but great. And that's where podcast editing services come in. Imagine this. Every podcast episode that's recorded needs to be edited. The background noise needs to be reduced. The audio levels need to be balanced. The unnecessary ums and ahs need to be cut out, and so much more. This meticulous process is what transforms a raw recording into a polished podcast episode. And let's be honest, not everyone has the skills or the time to do this. And that's where you come in. By offering podcast editing services, you can fill this gap in the market. You can provide a valuable service that helps podcasters produce the best possible content for their audience. And the best part? This can be a highly profitable business. You see, with the sheer number of podcasts being produced and the fact that each episode requires quality editing, there's a huge demand for podcast editing services. And where there's demand, there's opportunity. Opportunity for you to start your own profitable podcast editing service. And don't worry, you don't need to be an audio engineer or have years of editing experience to get started. With the right tools and a willingness to learn, anyone can offer podcast editing services. So are you ready to tap into this potential and start your own podcast editing service? Before diving in, it's crucial to understand what podcast editing entails. Podcast editing is a process that transforms raw audio into a polished, professional podcast episode. It's like the backstage work that makes the stars shine on stage. Let's unpack this a bit more. First, we have sound quality. This is about ensuring that the audio is clear, free from distracting noises, and pleasant to the listener's ear. It involves adjusting volume levels, removing background noise, and balancing the sound across different speakers. It's like making sure every note in a symphony hits just right. Next, we move on to content editing. Here, the goal is to create a seamless narrative flow. This might involve cutting out unnecessary parts, rearranging sections for better coherence, or even adding in additional elements like music or sound effects. It's like editing a novel, but with sound. Then comes formatting. This is about ensuring consistency across all episodes. You might need to add in an intro or outro, insert sponsor messages, or make sure the episode fits within a certain time frame. It's about creating a recognizable and consistent listening experience. Now, to do all this, you'll need some special tools. There's software designed specifically for audio editing, like Audacity or Adobe Audition. And you might also need some hardware, like a good quality headset to catch every nuance in the sound. But don't let all these technicalities intimidate you. Like any skill, podcast editing can be learned and mastered. It's about developing an ear for good audio, a sense for narrative flow, and an eye for detail. So whether you're looking to start a podcast editing service or just improve your own podcast, understanding these aspects of editing is your first step. Podcast editing might seem challenging, but don't worry. With the right tools and skills, you can master it. Now, let's focus on honing the skills you need to become a successful podcast editor. There are 3 main skill areas you need to master: audio editing, understanding podcast trends, and developing a keen ear for detail. Let's dive into each of these. First up, audio editing. This is the bread and butter of your podcast editing service. You'll need to know how to cut, trim, and splice audio tracks, adjust volume levels, remove background noise, and apply sound effects. But don't be daunted, there are plenty of resources out there to help you learn. Online platforms like Coursera, Lynda, and Udemy offer comprehensive courses in audio editing. Start with the basics and gradually work your way up. And remember, the best way to learn is by doing, so practice, practice, practice. Next, understanding podcast trends. Podcasting is a dynamic industry, with trends and preferences constantly shifting. To ensure your editing service is always in demand, you need to stay on top of these changes. Subscribe to podcasting newsletters, follow industry leaders on social media, and regularly listen to popular podcasts. This will help you understand what's working in the industry and what listeners are gravitating towards. Lastly, developing a keen ear for detail. As a podcast editor, your job isn't just about technical skills. You need to be able to listen to a podcast and discern what works and what doesn't. This means understanding pacing, timing, and rhythm, and knowing when to cut a long-winded segment or when to let a moment breathe. Again, this is a skill that comes with practice. So listen to as many podcasts as you can and critically analyze them. What makes them engaging? What would you do differently? Let's not forget about resources. There are plenty of books, blogs, and online communities dedicated to podcast editing. Some recommended reads include The Podcast Book by Tim Ferriss and Out on the Wire by Jessica Abel. Websites like Transom and The Podcast Host have tons of articles and tutorials, and don't underestimate the value of communities. Forums like Reddit's R Podcasting can be a goldmine of advice and support. Remember, practice makes perfect. So keep honing your skills, stay curious, and you'll be well on your way to becoming a successful podcast editor. So, you've got the skills. Now it's time to set up your podcast editing service. Step 1, choose a business name. This may seem simple, but it's one of the most critical steps. Your business name is your brand. It's what potential clients will remember and associate with your service. It should not only reflect your business's personality, but also be easy to remember, spell, and pronounce. Think about it, brainstorm, and once you've decided, check to make sure it's not already taken. Next, register your business. Depending on where you live, this process will vary. But generally, this involves filing paperwork with your local government to officially establish your business. This step may seem intimidating, but it's crucial for tax purposes and to protect your personal assets. It's a good idea to consult with a lawyer or accountant to ensure you're setting your business up correctly. The third step is setting up a professional workspace. This doesn't necessarily mean investing in a fancy office. Your workspace can be as simple as a quiet corner in your house. The key is to have a dedicated, distraction-free space where you can focus on your work. Invest in quality headphones, a good computer, and reliable editing software. Also, consider setting up a professional website. It's your digital storefront, where potential clients can learn more about your services, see your portfolio, and get in touch. Make sure it's easy to navigate, visually appealing, and contains all the necessary information. Lastly, establish your rates. Determine how much you will charge for your services. This can be tricky, but it's important to find a balance between what your time is worth and what the market will bear. Research what other podcast editors are charging, consider your skill level, and don't undervalue your work. Setting up your business might seem like a big step, but it's an essential part of becoming a professional podcast editor. Remember, every successful business started somewhere, and by taking these steps, you're well on your way to establishing a profitable podcast editing service. Stay tuned for the next scene where we'll discuss how to effectively market your service. You're all set up, but how do you get clients? Well, dear listener, this is where the art and science of marketing comes in. Let's take a deep dive into the strategies that can help you bring your podcast editing service to the front lines. First stop, social media promotion. In today's digital age, having a robust online presence is non-negotiable. Start by establishing your brand on popular platforms like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Share your work, post behind the scenes, share testimonials, and engage with your audience. Remember, consistency is the name of the game. Regular posts showcasing your expertise can go a long way in establishing you as a go-to podcast editor. Next up, networking. The podcasting community is vast and filled with potential clients. Reach out to podcasters, join relevant groups, attend meetups, or even guest on a podcast. Building relationships within this community can lead to collaborations, referrals, and yes, clients. Now let's talk about introductory discounts. Offering a discounted rate for new clients can be a powerful incentive for them to try out your services. But be careful not to undersell yourself. The aim is to give them a taste of your skills, not to undervalue your work. Building a strong portfolio is another crucial aspect of marketing your service. A portfolio showcases your skills and style, giving potential clients a clear idea of what they can expect. Include a variety of podcast genres and editing styles to demonstrate your range. And remember, quality over quantity. It's better to have a few standout samples than a plethora of mediocre ones. Finally, don't forget about good old-fashioned word of mouth. Encourage your clients to spread the word about your services. A referral from a satisfied client can be more persuasive than any advertising campaign. So there you have it. Marketing your podcast editing service isn't just about selling. It's about telling your story, building relationships, and showcasing your skills. Effective marketing is the key to attracting clients and growing your podcast editing service. So, go forth and market with confidence. Your future clients are waiting. To succeed in this business, you must deliver quality service. It's not just a saying, it's a principle that will guide your path in the podcast editing industry. Let's talk about the 3 pillars of quality service: meeting deadlines, maintaining communication with clients, and continuously improving your skills. First off, deadlines. Deadlines are the lifeline of this business. When a client entrusts you with their podcast, they're not just handing over audio files. They're giving you their trust, their audience, and their reputation. And nothing can break that trust faster than a missed deadline. So always deliver on time. If you foresee a delay, communicate this to your client beforehand. It's better to be upfront than to disappoint. Next, let's discuss client communication. This is your key to building lasting relationships. Always keep your clients in the loop. Inform them of your progress, ask for feedback, and be responsive to their queries. Remember, good communication is not just about speaking, it's also about listening. Understand your client's vision for their podcast and deliver exactly that. Lastly, never stop honing your skills. The podcasting world is continuously evolving, with new technologies and trends emerging all the time. Stay ahead of the curve by continuously learning and improving. Attend webinars, take courses, join forums, do whatever it takes to keep your skills sharp and up to date. But it's not just about technical skills. Develop your creative side too. Learn to tell a story through sound, to evoke emotions, to captivate listeners. That's what sets a great podcast editor apart from a good one. It's a challenging journey, but one that's worth every step. Because when you deliver quality service, you're not just building a business, you're building a reputation, you're building trust. And in the long run, that's what keeps clients coming back. So set your standards high, be reliable, be communicative, be continuously learning, and most importantly, be dedicated to delivering quality. Remember, your reputation as a podcast editor depends on the quality of service you provide. Let's recap what we've learned today. We started with recognizing the untapped potential of podcast editing, understanding that in this digital age, the demand for high-quality audio experiences is only growing. Podcast editing is not just about cutting and pasting, but enhancing the overall audio experience, making it more engaging and enjoyable for listeners. Next, we delved into understanding the art of podcast editing itself. It's about understanding the rhythm of conversation, knowing when to cut, when to enhance, and when to leave well enough alone. It's about respecting the voice of the podcaster while ensuring the listener's experience is seamless. We then moved on to acquiring the necessary skills. We talked about the importance of being familiar with different editing software, understanding audio formats, and the need to have a keen ear for detail. These skills can be honed over time and with practice. Setting up your podcast editing service was our next step. We discussed how to structure your services, setting competitive yet profitable prices, and the importance of having a professional and appealing online presence. Marketing your service was our 5th step, where we emphasized the power of networking, both online and offline. We also touched upon leveraging social media platforms and podcasting communities to spread the word about your service. Delivering quality service was our final step. We highlighted the need for consistent quality, timely delivery, and excellent customer service. Remember, your reputation is everything in this business, so never compromise on quality. If you need to revisit any of these steps, feel free to rewind and watch again. And for more ideas on how to earn extra income, do visit Ramon's ebooks. These resources will provide you with a treasure trove of ideas to supplement your income. Don't forget to visit Ramon's ebooks for more ideas on earning extra income. And if you found this video helpful, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Here's to your success in starting a profitable podcast editing service.